This is Bless Radio. It's 6 past 6 p.m. UK time. This is the Spiritual Discussion Program. I'm Saad in Southeast London, and with me as usual is Gregory. Gregory, how are you and how is the weather where you are?
Well, one is fine here, and the weather is just like you have in the UK.
Okay, the weather here in UK, it is actually overcast, mild, I would say. Yes, and welcome everyone to this Spiritual Discussion Program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. And every week we have a new topic to discuss. The topic tonight is distorted concepts. Distorted concepts. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting our UK number, which is 07939641958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Abdushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life, for through the knowledge mediated, the readers again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Abdushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail Message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic we are discussing tonight is distorted concepts. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments. The number to contact us on our UK number is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. Now, Gregory, you know, I always like to look at the meaning of the words in our topic in the dictionary. So we have two words here, distorted and concepts. So I looked at the word distort in the dictionary, and it came with this meaning: pull or twist out of shape. And also another meaning it gave, give a misleading or false account or impression of. So this is the meaning of distort. I'll repeat that again. Pull or twist out of shape, or give a misleading or false account or impression of. So, Gregory, is that helpful for our discussion tonight? You're on mute. Sorry, Gregory.
Sometimes it's helpful if the compound statement is taken and discussed, because mutilating it, that means taking them apart and then bringing them together, does not really give a very strong impression, but albeit what one has is an intellectual impression. In that case, one is referring to that which has been distorted. So what one is stressing here, the definition you gave, is not wrong, or it's not completely wrong, but it doesn't give a holistic picture, and which is what counts.
Right. So I think what I will do then, Gregory, I will get the meaning of the word concepts as well, and then we'll look at it together. So, so again, Greg, looking in the dictionary for the word concepts, and it says plan or intention. That's one meaning. Or another meaning is an idea or invention to help sell or publicize a commodity. I think that's a specific type of example there. I think I've looked up another meaning of it, Gregory, so I will just refer to that one right now. Something conceived in mind, so that's a concept, or abstract or generic idea. I think it's a little bit longer than that, but that, I think we got the impression there. So, looking at it together, Gregory, we're talking of the topic tonight, which is distorted concept. So it's something like twisted or out of shape idea. Let's look at it. That's let's say one simple way to look at this meaning of the words distorted concepts. So is that in any way helpful for our discussion, looking at it like that?
Which one, distorted or concept?
Or together. So so the meaning of distorted concept, in a simplistic definition, is twisted. Twisted, you could say, idea or or picture, let's call it that way. Maybe I'm going to give my own meaning, Gregory. I'm going to start using my own meaning now. So a twisted, or another word they use for twisted is misleading. Misleading. So a misleading idea, let's say it that way. How does that sound with regards to the meaning of distorted concept?
Nearer to the real meaning would be a picture. It's like one has a distorted picture.
Right. So that's good. I think let's stick to that then. Let's say misleading picture.
One wouldn't say misleading. One would say a picture which has been put forward, but is not the original picture.
Okay, not the original, yes. So because it's distorted, it's changed from the original. So that makes sense.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're getting there slowly. We get there in the end. So thank you for that. Yeah, this is part of the discussion to go deeper into these meanings. So it looks like, Gregory, going back to what you just said, so it's an let's say a change, or the not necessarily misleading, but a change from the original idea. Let's call it that way. And I've forgotten the exact other word you used, Gregory, so I just want to get that to remind myself about that. So you said something from the original idea. Say that again.
We have a picture, the original picture,
yes,
and then is a distortion, or we have an originality, and then we have a movement away from the originality, or a densification of the originality. So these are distortions.
Right.
So away from
the original picture. Okay.
Picture.
Okay. Right. Okay. So we are getting an idea there. Now, I think, Gregory, I don't want to jump too far too quickly. So I was going to ask you, really, what distorted concepts are we thinking about in our discussion for tonight? Is it something spiritual? Is it something earthly? Because there's no context given here. So what context are we going to talk about in terms of distorted concepts? Is it earthly? Is it spiritual?
It is surprising to me, because I thought you were the one who is asking the questions.
Yes.
But there are distorted concepts everywhere, particularly in the language and in the impressions, or in the pictures which we have. So I'm not quite sure which concepts that have been selected for discussion.
Yes, I'm just let's say trying to get us going on where can we put our focus on at the moment. So of course we know in reality there's misconceptions or distortions in, let's say, in every part of life. It's not like a surprise for us. We are aware of it. So we can look at both then, Gregory, earthly and the spiritual. Now, let's look at one example. Okay, I'm going to start with the something you could say a little bit earthly, but or somehow people think. Let's say there was a discussion with some people yesterday, and so I just want to bring it into our radio show. They were talking about happiness, Gregory, and how to achieve happiness. And somehow, one person said, "You can't have happiness without money," which was a strange thing for some. Let's say for the other people in this discussion to hear that. They said, oh no, his family, there people are poor, or their country where people are poor there, and they're still happy. So, and this led to sort of quite a debate. And because Gregory, everybody, let's say in the world, wants to have happiness. I think that's quite a common goal. But how do you have happiness? So here, Gregory, it could be an example of a distorted concept. Some people think, as I say, one person said, oh no, you can't have happiness without money. So maybe we can look at that, Gregory. What is happiness?
Happiness basically springs from the fulfillment of tasks. And it has absolutely nothing to do with one having financial or lack of financial. For one whose health is functional, safe and sound, healthy, and if you compare that person who is very well to another who has no financial worries as such, but has health issues, then you start wondering what happiness really is. Whereas one is able to fulfill minor tasks, the other person is unable to fulfill those same minor tasks. So happiness, strictly speaking, though a spiritual concept, is tied to the fulfillment of tasks.
And thank you for that answer, Gregory. It sort of reminds us that we, as you always say, we need to look at the things holistically. So some people are saying, oh, you need money. It's not like, because in that debate that was going on in the discussion, you said, oh, you still need money. But as you said in the past already, we need to look at holistically. Yes, you can need it. Some person doesn't need it so much, and so on. So and then in one case, this will not even apply. The money would not even apply. So that would defeat their point that they need money to have happiness. So it's clear that, so there's a spiritual happiness, which is, let's say, the real goal, and we're living on the earth, and we want to have happiness on the earth as well. We're not looking for just happiness to have in, let's say, in heaven alone. We would like to have happiness on this earth. And they think, oh, if it's earth, then, for example, Gregory, just to slightly divert it to another angle, they said, oh, family is the most important thing in life. And that's where the discussion went to. So if somebody is not well in the family, then I also am not happy. And so it's like now dependent on your people around you and so on. So can we look at that, Gregory?
You must ask yourself, what about people who do not have families as described, as you just described? Does it mean they then lack happiness?
Well, I'm not able to think of such a situation, but most people have someone. But yes, there could be an orphan, as you say. It can be some situation where there's somebody like that, and they're adopted by somebody else, and that sort of. So does it mean now they can't be happy? I would say no. The happiness you can still achieve it. So yes. So it looks like what I'm seeing, Gregory, again, as we go into this discussion, everybody having their own ideas, rather than seeing it in the bigger picture, you could say. And as soon as you see the bigger picture, whatever you are thinking doesn't seem to, let's say, be so valid anymore. So, Gregory, is there a way we can look at these concepts? Is there a way we are supposed to look at it in a, let's say, global way, or from just our sort of experience?
There is always a global way or universal way. And when one considers happiness, one has connected it to the fulfillment of tasks. At the same time, in these forums, the discussion has always been that which is holistic is one for all and all for one. After all, those who incarnated on earth, they didn't give birth to themselves. Somebody gave birth to them. And when their time is spent here on earth, they are not going to bury themselves. Someone is going to bury them. So one can see the interconnection or interdependence with that concept, one for all and all for one.
Thank you for that, Gregory. It's another thing I'm getting through the discussion with other people, our discussion with the two of us, and then other people discussing, it's like that interaction broadens our views and understanding. So it's all, because one person sees it in one way, another person sees it another way, and let's say we have this, you could say, habit of thinking that, oh, this is the way, this is the only way, and very quickly you see, oh, no, there's another way as well, and it's as valid as the other one. So it's not like you can just say, oh, this is the right way. Oh, it's a bigger picture again. So thank you for sort of bringing that out yet again. Now, Gregory, I want to understand, another thing, people are, let's say, looking for happiness, and which means they're seeking, let's say, pleasures, or even if it's on earth, there's something to make them happy, let's say, Gregory, it seems to be inside us to have some joy, that's to bring us joy. Now, you have said, Gregory, that is through fulfilling tasks. When you say it like that, it doesn't feel automatically like a joyful thing. So it looks like doing something, you're being forced to do something. And
one may ask oneself,
yeah,
if one does not exercise oneself, by exercise, that means the physical talents granted to one, or even the common exercise by taking a walk, or as with children, by running around, to ensure that the physical body is kept in shape. If one does not study in such a way so as to be able to understand the challenges that appertain to, for example, music, or to the world of medicine, or to the world of pharmacy, these require self-exertion. It is not that one just sits down and is able to understand everything just like that. So it requires self-exertion. So whatever requires self-exertion to be able to accomplish a task, that should bring happiness. It doesn't mean it has to be easy.
Thank you for that answer, and providing that picture. Again, it looks, we need to see the context. So there's a concept, and that includes a context. Otherwise, you could say you're doing something, but you have no purpose in it. And here we can see the purpose in it. So thank you for that. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of this show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. And if you're interested in knowing more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is distorted concepts. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 07939 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. Also, you can listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space, live stream. That's for the live show. And if you can listen to the recording of this show the next day, again on YouTube, go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1, space, Grail Message, and space, the topic of the show, which tonight is distorted concepts. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on, let me just double check, I'm sorry, it is Zeno, that's it, zeno.fm/Bless Radio 1. Now, Gregory, let's look at, how the concepts have become distorted. So we've talked about happiness. There can be love, there can be justice, and many other, let's say, commonly spoken of concepts. And so how can the concepts get distorted, Gregory?
Is it possible to take a specific one? Because
okay, let's talk about love, which is the most, let's say, the biggest one. So, I mean, in a way, people all say they know what is love, but then there might be, let me think of some example there. Let's say some people say, oh, we should forgive everything, with love, because of love. And others saying, no, you can't, it's not like that. It's this. So some things, there has to be love and justice, let's say. I'm mixing two things now, suddenly. So yes, let's get the picture. Let me repeat that, Gregory. So does love mean forgive everything? Does it mean that? And accept everything?
Well, that's, like you rightly has stated, is a distorted concept of love. For love grants an opportunity to build up. And that's being granted the opportunity is like granting an opportunity to a request. So having granted you the opportunities for your request, it is only fair that you make use of these requests in accordance with the will of him or her that granted you these opportunities. Therefore, There is, on the one hand, the granting, and on the other hand, the fulfillment. Therefore, you have love and the justice. The resources granted to you for the fulfillment has been done out of concern, out of love. Only him or her who is watchful can be of concern. Only him or her who is watchful in order to be able to fulfill that which has been granted to them, only that particular personality one can say has been on the alert. So love and justice are one.
Wow, that's incredible, Gregory. We thought we can pigeonhole maybe love in this way, but actually, as usual, you have to look at it holistically, and we can't separate love and justice, as you've just pointed out.
One might also imagine that you, the person who you say you love someone, and you have made preparation for that person to be able to fulfill a task, maybe in quotes, by providing the financial incentives and all the support that the person needs, only for the person, having collected the resources required, refuses to fulfill. What will be your response when there are many others who could have been granted those opportunities in order to fulfill? So each personality must ask themselves the question rather than just allowing it to float. Each person must ask themselves, is this right? By looking at the scenario or the context, all right, in a just way.
Thank you very much again, Gregory, for this picture. Just another addition to continuing from what you have just said there. They say love is unconditional, or you should have, let's say mother and child, in that context there's an unconditional love. This is how it is expressed. But is that really correct there? Unconditional. Love is unconditional in that particular context. Yeah.
Love is not unconditional. Love has a condition. For it was the mother who petitioned through her gifts, through the gifts that nature had endowed her, that she has petitioned to have a child. So there are duties, there are tasks which are attached to that particular in the fulfillment after it has been granted. So it is conditional. It is conditional until the child has grown to a certain age, and where the child must now move away, as you would have an apple falling from the mother tree in order to be able to survive continuously. So the so-called unconditional love has been grossly distorted. A mother made a request through her innate abilities, and this request has been granted. That being the case, there are duties to be fulfilled. there are tasks to be performed. So unless the individual sees it from that point of view, it will be a distortion to hold that and say it is unconditional. After all, she knew from the beginning that a child is not yet fully matured. So it is her task to provide for that child until the child has attained its own independence.
Thank you again for this answer, Gregory, and the picture you painted there. It's quite clear there's been a lot of distortion in our concepts, and which has been just, let's say, blindly accepted by many people and not even, and not really thought deeply about. And then we come, obviously, not surprisingly, to, you could say, funny, not funny, but let's say, well, obviously different ideas, but the practice of how we consider these concepts, how we practice these concepts, of course, will result in many, you could say, problems. I'm not able to think of a better word right now. So now, I'm just thinking, Gregory, so when we have these concepts, we learn them, you could say, from our parents, from our family and people around us, let's say. And then we just take it up, as I say, almost blindly. So from what you've said, Gregory, we really should examine them, isn't it? Does that mean that everything that we come across, whatever we are brought up with, we need to, let's say, not assume that it is actually right. We need to, how do we, Gregory, let's say, assess all these things? Do we adopt them first and then, try them out, you can say, and then if it fits with what, you could say, how life works, and then you say, yes, this is the right concept? Or can you look at it more let's say, by your mind only, and just assess, oh yes, this doesn't make sense, this is not correct? So is it through experience, Gregory, that we discover the concept is distorted, or is it reflecting on it and saying, oh, this doesn't make sense, so this can't be right?
Whatever impressions or expressions have been used, when the human personality attains the age of maturity, it must examine everything. Must examine everything and compare it to the impressions it gathers out of nature. One may say it needs to do the comparison of what it has experienced through one's intuition. Only from that point of view can one then draw a conclusion. Those impressions which are profitable, that means which are beneficial, not only to it as a person, but also holistically to the neighborhood. Again and again, it goes back to that which is beneficial to you and also beneficial to your neighbor. That would be right. Otherwise, that concept of one for all and all for one will be shattered.
Thank you very much for that, Gregory. Another concept I would like to look at now is freedom. Now, we talked at the beginning, should it be earthly or should it be spiritual? And on the earth, Gregory, we have different peoples. And each of those peoples, or in most cases, they want their own country, their own nation. And some, of course, have it, and others under some other nation or country ruled by someone else. And then they say, we want our freedom, we want to have our nation. And as you know, normally the stronger one is the one who can achieve that. And the weaker one has to sort of, unless there's some negotiation and they actually can achieve it, in many cases that doesn't happen. The weaker one seems to, have to just suffer and continue accepted. But my question there, Gregory, is when that freedom of a nation that some people are desiring, is that really necessary or, required for us, for, you could say, our well-being and our development? Or, because obviously, as you know, Gregory, there's always the bigger picture, which is that we are supposed to develop as a spirit, from an unconscious spirit to a self-conscious, mature spirit. So what I'm asking really, should earthly freedom, should we pursue that with the same vigor as maybe our spiritual sort of wish for freedom?
Whatever it is, the human personality has or cannot release itself from responsibility. Fulfilling one's responsibilities is intrinsically freedom. For one who is unable to fulfill his or her responsibilities, that particular personality is not free. For the human spirit has demanded, has asked, has pleaded to be granted the opportunity to experience in different areas in nature, in creation. And that being the case, different realms were prepared for it such that it could go there to experience. Having granted the opportunity, or having been granted the opportunity, then the personality has the responsibility to fulfill, to make use of that which has been granted to it. There are some who are able to do this through coming together to form communities, to form nations, which we refer to as countries. For when a people wish to come together to be able to use the concept of one for all and all for one, that must be respected. You mentioned the stronger one. The stronger one is the one who wishes to fulfill, to take responsibility so as to be able to mature. It is the weak one who one-sidedly considers they have the strength. Strength is not displayed through bullying. Strength is displayed through the virtues, through knowing one's limit and supporting the other to attain to a place of high responsibility. Therefore, when that word strength is used, one has to use it very carefully. For, as has been mentioned, it has always been to be able to mature with those in one's neighborhood. It has to be one for all and all for one.
Thank you so much for that answer, Gregory. Just that last word there, you use strength. Yeah, people might think, oh, military strength. in the context that I was talking about. But that's not really proper strength, the way to see strength. It's the context is not in that way. It's you could say it's the spiritual, or let's say how its strength is meant to be used, and not our own idea, what, a distorted idea of that. Let's say military. In the case, I was thinking of the military being stronger in some way. So, no, it's about, as you say, based on all for one and one for all, and encouraging, your fellow human being to develop and grow, and supporting that. And now, I want to think about, Gregory, what about Lucifer? And and people use the name devil as well for Lucifer. Isn't he always trying to bring us down and find a way to, trip us up? Temptation, as we know. So, my question on that would be, are we, let's say, if that is the case, Lucifer is looking for ways to trip us up, you can say, are we strong enough to sort of battle that enemy?
What one has referred to as battling of the enemy is equivalent to taking responsibility for one's activities in accordance with the laws through which he himself or herself came into existence. You use the word tempt. Well, as you rightly know, he or she who does not exact himself or herself to fulfill his tasks or her tasks puts itself in a scenario where he or she is not fulfilling that which he needs to fulfill. That is indolence. Indolence of the spirit, or indolence of even the intellect. These are what the darkness or Lucifer seeks out for those who refuse to investigate further, for those who refuse to make use of the talents granted them, to make use of the talent vigorously or rigorously, then the danger is always there that he or she, when confronted with challenges, will buckle. Therefore, it is the task of man to strive with all his strength, with all the talents granted to it, to fulfill his task as a human personality. That word human is important, because for the human, for that which is human, has been granted the intuition in order to fulfill, not to make use of that which is required for fulfillment. That itself is indolence.
Thank you for that, Gregory. I've just received a text. I think it's more of a comment, which is, mankind is swimming in distorted concepts. Everything is virtually distorted. One need only mention but a few examples. People's thoughts. They think thoughts are free, and they bear no responsibility for them. governments that interfere in individuals' privacy and property, the harmful, distorted concept of so-called toxic masculinity, and so on. So, thank you for that, listener. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say on those words?
Well, for now, nothing, because it takes time to understand these things very carefully. So it is welcomed, but one shouldn't be looking at government as a set of people out there. Each one must strive first to examine what he or she had been taught or what they have gone through, and through personal examination, come to a conclusion. That examination must be done not only intellectually, as many do, but also intuitively. That is the key.
Thank you very much for that, Gregory. So it's like everybody has personal responsibility for whatever concept they adopt and follow, that's, and yes, even if a government has proposed or doing something, it's still our own individual, let's say, it's responsibility, our own responsibility to, think how we think, because obviously nobody can control that.
Sorry,
Oops.
I don't understand.
Oops, sorry, apologies. My phone is interfering a little bit. I'm sorry for that. Thank you for that. Now, Gregory, what about, I'm trying to bring a new topic in this moment, but I will do it. What about imagination, in terms of having concepts? Is that imagination what I'm trying to say from that, is it, can that be a source of distortion of concepts, Gregory? Because, people think up ideas, they call it imagination. There are many words, but I'll just use this word for now. Imagination, is that, can that be a source of distortion, or is that something helpful?
What is referred to as imagination is a combination of thoughts, of one's thoughts, brain thoughts, and feelings. When they combine, one then talks of imagination. Imagination in order to have a concept. If those imagination are not in accordance with the laws of creation, then those imagination will not lead far. It may be able to influence the personality and a few people, but when subjected rigorously to the laws of nature, the laws of creation, those imaginations will not stand. A very simple example one should. Out of one's simple experience, you see the sun rising from the east and setting in the west. Questions are not asked. And from that type of simple observation, which has not been subjected to rigor of the intuition, one draws a conclusion that the sun goes round the earth. Many simply accept that. But when rigors are called for, when they have to be examined very carefully, you'll find that there are scenarios which tells otherwise. And therefore, since that which has been imagined through observations without careful or thorough examination, or without ruthless examination, you then find that that imagination does not hold in many occasions. Therefore, the human personality must investigate, not only investigate with the human intellect, but also investigate with one's intuition.
Thank you very much for this answer, Gregory. It's like the intellect is an ability, the intuition is an ability, and it's not that one is better than the other, or let's say one is more correct and the other one is not correct. Each one has its own, let's say, area of working, and so we have to use it in that right way, in the right way. So not one is against the other, and this is right, the intellect is wrong, and the intuition is right. They have to work together. Again, all for one and one for all, not this time with different people, but in the abilities. So again, we get that picture there. So thank you for that. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abrushin. If you are interested in knowing more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is distorted concepts. Distorted concepts. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space, live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of the show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is distorted concepts. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. Gregory, we talked about our different abilities. We have the intellect, we have the intuition, and we've got science. Because you talked about the idea of some people thinking, oh, the sun goes round the earth. The others may thinking, oh, the earth goes round the sun. And you can't just, let's say, purely by one ability, get to the answer. You need all of these other elements, you can say, to put these things together and make sense of them. Now, does that mean, Gregory, we should rely how can we be sure, let me say that way, Gregory, if we are getting something, whichever ability we are using, that is giving us the correct answer, correct impression, and not some wrong impression? Just like you could use the word distorted concepts. How can we be sure, Gregory, that we are being not misled by our impressions?
First, there needs to be clarity or clarification of the word science. To do that, you need to know what so-called scientists do. The scientist collects data, so-called, which one may call impressions, and after collecting this data, they build a model. So they do modeling. Via modeling, they then build a picture, which picture they use to predict. If, however, there are other occurrences, other phenomena which do not agree with the model they have drawn up, they will find a way of redesigning this model or even abandoning altogether and start building up again. That already gives you a very strong impression that it is continuous investigation to realize that which is more complete, which is more holistic, which is a proof that science itself is not perfect and cannot be perfect. Because most of the time, there is always an improvement on the models which they themselves have brought up, albeit intellectually. It is good or helpful to examine through the intellect by collating external impression. That impression must be passed on to the back brain via one's intuition to the spirit. It is there where the spirit, in its maturity, is able to investigate in a wider context of creation, for it has the spiritual abilities. So that means it is able to not only examine or investigate things that are of matter, but also things that bear resemblance or are of spirit, which is a much wider context. It is the task of the human personality to examine not only intellectually but also spiritually. Then it will come closer to the actual picture. It will come closer to understanding the laws of nature through which it, the human personality, came into existence. And then subsequently, in its maturity, it will come to appreciate the laws of creation that even gave rise to it, the human spirit germ, and subsequently made it possible for it to move out of its domain, the spiritual realm, as an unconscious spirit germ in order to awaken those talents which creation had granted to it to develop such that it becomes self-conscious subsequently. That which you see externally has displayed a form. That form only came into existence through the grace granted by the love. That form is of substance, which one may call substantiality. But that form is not arbitrary. That form is in accordance with the laws that underlie creation. So it is the task of the human personality, in order to awaken to self-consciousness, to have an appreciation of substantiality and an appreciation of the laws through which it came into existence. That is his task. For very simply, he or she who receives has the duty to make use of that which he himself or herself has received. Make use of it to bring benefit to it, and also pass it on or to share it with others, such that the concept of one for all and all for one is fulfilled. That is what creation is all about. Support for one another, loving one's, the love of one, or as the love of oneself, sharing. That is what it's all about. All others that one may experience are only supporting tasks to ginger the personality to awake. So when one hears, oh, there is science here, which science is just having simple models, or arts, which arts is basically the impressions that one has picked from out of creation, from out of nature, due to the movement or due to motion in creation, and then puts it across. All these things, they dovetail and support one another.
Thank you so much for your answer there, Gregory. In the picture you put there, it's just, you can see how wide-ranging, this world is, and and we need to, let's say, be open to receive that, absorb it and see it and, use it, you can say. And it's like a learning curve. We have to, go through the process of that. While you were talking, Gregory, the listeners sent this question, or even it's a point, I think. So I will read it out now. Some people believe that there is a flat earth and give all kinds of reasons for it. In the Bible, the earth is referred to as a firmament. Why is this? How do we really know, and is it important anyway? So I'll read the whole thing again, Gregory. Some people believe that there's a flat earth and give all kinds of reasons for it. In the Bible, the earth is referred to as a firmament. Why is this? There's multiple questions in a way here, Gregory. And how do we really know, and is it important anyway?
The question that person or those who believe must ask themselves, a flat earth, and yet they have seasons, they have day and night. These are the questions which should not let them sleep, but they must find a solution to it. And when belief is talked about, belief is only the first step. Only through examination, rigorous intuitive examination, will move one from that place of belief to personal conviction. The question will then be, where is the conviction of those people who hold such belief? For when you hold a belief, and that belief has not been subjected to many challenges, the day that belief is subjected to challenges and is unable to hold its ground in accordance with the laws of nature, of creation, then that belief will be shattered. It means those who held on to that belief have gained nothing, but they have been on the wrong side, either due to indolence or not wanting to investigate further. Whether it's being confirmed in ancient writings such as the Bible is of no consequence. Even in these ancient writings, or as in the Bible, they must be investigated. They must be subjected to rigorous investigation intuitively. They must be subjected to rigorous investigations in accordance with motion, in accordance with the laws of nature, the laws of creation. Only through that process will you have personal conviction, for through such investigation, the human personality warms up. Many a thing opens up. That experience which the human personality needs, in accordance with the laws of creation, that experience will be brought across its path for it to experience it, evaluate it, and gain personal conviction. That is the right way to go. Not to accept whatever is thrown at one and one does not examine it. Can you imagine people going to play, for many who so-called enjoy football? Can you imagine to go out there and there are no challenges and then you score as many goals as you wish? In fact, there are no people in the field. One does not even imagine that. Can you imagine that you don't have to learn any language to survive? Can you imagine you don't have to cultivate any seeds such that you can now reap the seeds? Where will you find your apple? Where will you find your oranges? Can you imagine you don't have to exert yourself? You are born, you remain in the same place? Can you imagine you're not even born? Motion is a law in creation, and man is not an exception. Therefore, he or she must move in body and in soul, in body, in soul, and spirit. Only when there is harmony between these three can one say one is free.
Thank you so much for this answer and picture you have painted, Gregory, in response to the question from the listener, and it really makes you reflect, on any assumptions and presumptions that we, go about in life, and don't question it. Oh yeah, that's what we were brought up with, or that's what somebody told me. And then later you're saying, hang on a second, is that making sense? Does it work? And it doesn't. And then you think, well, maybe that's not right, what I've been following. So whatever it is, as you said, Gregory, we have to examine it. Belief, old teaching, it doesn't matter what it is, everything must be examined. And examined and understood, and otherwise, as you say, how can you have an apple or an orange? Somebody just doesn't give it to you in your hand. You have to somebody has to grow that. So thank you for that. Now I'm thinking Gregory, we all have the intuition, we all have the intellect, we have, different abilities as well. And I was wondering, Gregory, that can each person have the same, when I use the word same, I put that in quotes, a concept of love, happiness, justice, whatever concept we are talking about, really. Can we have, or let me say, can we agree again, it's a questionable way to put the question, but what I'm trying to say, Gregory, have we all the ability to perceive correctly or accurate, properly, the concepts of happiness, whatever concept they are, happiness, love, peace and justice? Can each person, you said everybody has to examine themselves. Is everybody got that full capability, or are some people have more advantage, or let's say it's possible that some people may not find the, let's say, the correct perception of it. That's what I'm trying to say, because of the different abilities and personalities.
Each personality is granted spiritual abilities. It depends on how the personality proceeds to develop these talents. There are some through their vigorous intuitive activities, are able to allow these talents in reaction to grow. There are others who are indolent to a large extent and do not examine vigorously. Now you must ask yourself, he or her who uses these talents vigorously in accordance with the demands of motion, that person definitely will unfold, or due to that particular motion, the motions in creation, the processes in creation or in nature will unfold before the human personality and therefore will mature. It is that maturity which is not uniform here on earth. For it now depends, how do you use that which has been granted to you? If that which has been granted of equal measure at the beginning to the personality, if they have been used vigorously in their experiences, in the challenges which they encounter, then in reciprocity, creation will open up in the sense they are able to perceive more than the other personality who uses it less vigorously. So the rapidity of experience of him or her who uses that ability intuitively and also in the earthly to experience is more beneficial than him or her who uses it less vigorously. And therein lies the justice. As you call into the world, so it echoes. There are many who try to compose music, and they spend a lot of time on it, working again and again and again. There are some who wishes, or whose wish is to run a marathon, and they practice again and again. There are some who wish to speak a language, and they strive again and again. Compare it to others who refuse to learn to accomplish a particular task. Do you then expect that person who refuses to accomplish a particular task to be more knowledgeable than the person who fulfills through his willingness to accomplish the task and move further? So in these matters, each personality must ask themselves, how do I stand in these matters?
Thank you so much for that answer, Gregory, and the picture you painted there. I've got another follow-up on what you just said there, Gregory. Because, we said every person is different. They have, yes, we all have, our five senses and the intuition in common. But then there are people with different talents, One is an artist, musician. Another one is, a scientist or whatever, different roles and jobs that exist, My question on what I want to ask now, Gregory, no person is expected to know everything, right? And so you'll have people who, in quotes, specialize in their field, and so I guess what do I want to ask here? Do we need to understand everything, Gregory, in life, or is it only, what role, according to the role we are playing, we need to know only what is necessary for that? So, yeah. Do we need to know everything in life?
When that question arises, do we need to know everything? But the question says everything. How can you know everything? The first task for the human spirit is to know thyself. Only through knowing thyself will you use from that perspective to grasp the challenges that nature throws at you or creation throws at you. So, considering that you have not made the effort to know or to use your innate abilities in different sectors, if you haven't done that, how do you then wish to know everything? To know everything means not only knowing yourself, but also knowing about your neighbor, everything, knowing about creation, knowing about nature, knowing about everything. That is not the task that has been set for the human spirit. The task which has been set for the human spirit is to develop those talents which has been granted, implanted in it as a spirit seed grain. And that is why those of the ancient times said the first task is to know thyself. When one knows himself or herself, then humility comes in. Knowing the restriction, knowing fully well that he is not capable of knowing everything. But if he knows himself in accordance with the virtues implanted into it, then that humility will enable it in a step-by-step fashion move towards the light as a self-conscious human personality. So the first key thing it needs to do is to strive to become self-conscious. That is all. All others will be passed on to it.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for this answer. It really clears up a lot of sort of misconceptions or distorted concepts that we might have in, let's say, our fantasy ideas that we might be having. So thank you very much for that. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. If you are interested in knowing more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And as I said, you're listening to Bless Radio. We're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. Also, you can listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space, live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube the next day. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is distorted concepts. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again. And as I mentioned, the topic we're discussing tonight is distorted concepts. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. Now, Gregory, so far everything we've said is using our own abilities and, developing our virtues and so on. And, they said, know thyself, discovering ourselves, as part of, you could say, looking at concepts and, and understanding the concepts and, applying them. I wanted to ask if there's any external help we can also have. And the other, what I was thinking of in this case is prayer. Pray to the Almighty. After all, He is the Creator, and He knows how He made the creation. And so, is that also another, if I can use the word channel, to use for understanding?
Well, thanks for this particular question. The understanding of prayer will clarify. Man must understand that he himself or herself has been granted abilities, which abilities he needs to use or he needs to cultivate. Part of that cultivation is that ability to ask through his activities in accordance with these laws through which he himself came into existence. So, when the human personality asks through his activities in humility, that granting occurs. It is the asking intuitively in humility, which is more of prayer, and in that process, using that which has been granted to you to fulfill the tasks. So, it's more of to watch and to pray. For prayer is only more to use that which has been granted to you in accordance with the will of the Almighty. So making use of that which has been granted to you, albeit first, one's intuition, the skills, the talents, those virtues which one needs to cultivate. The virtues of faithfulness, of grace, of modesty, of diligence, of courage and selflessness, of wisdom and humility, of compassion, of vigilance, of alertness. These are what one may refer to as prayer. In the fulfillment of these, then you will have, in reciprocal activity, power is granted to the human personality more and more for greater fulfillment. Therefore, he or she who seeks diligently will find, which only means if the human personality does not seek diligently, it will not find. Because even when you have the scenario that which it needs is placed in front of him or her, due to inactivity, it is unable to recognize it and may even ignore it. So it is important that through vigorous activities, the human personality fulfills. That in itself is prayer. The babbling of meaningless words, of expecting that the Almighty will have to bend his rules, the rules through which the human personality even came into existence, to bend these rules to suit it, does not occur. However, it is the human personality who, through his or her vigorous activity, laced with humility, that is what is expected. Again, he who seeks diligently will find.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. I'm just wondering, we looked at so many concepts and we noticed how they have been distorted, or our understanding is, let's say, is not what the concept actually is. So what I was wondering is, how does, man or humanity stand in the current times? We are progressing in terms of, you could say, technology with new inventions and so on. And then we also know we are failing in regards with the environment. We're not keeping like a balance on our, using our resources, but causing damage to the earth and fellow human beings as well in our, activities. And so, and yes, as you know, we are, applying science and so on to make our life better. If that's what let's say we claim we are trying to do that. And so, what's the how can I say, the status of humanity, Gregory, in the current times?
I will not categorically say one understands the state of humanity. For a very simple reason, one should try to examine in one's intuition the state of affairs here on earth. Has it been once for all and all for one? Don't we have greed, wickedness. Each personality must examine for themselves and come to a conclusion. The question should not be what is the state of humanity. The question should be, how do I, as a personality, stand before nature, before creation, before him who granted that opportunity for me to experience? That is what counts. That is why one should not even strive to know everything, but one should strive to know himself, to cultivate those talents which had been granted to it, such that they come to fruition and they should bear rich fruits. So instead of trying to find out how about the whole of humanity, humility tells us we should start with ourselves. However, there is always help which is available only when we know that which is helpful, can we make use of it.
Thank you so much for that, Gregory. I've received a question from a listener. It's related to what we've just been speaking, but it's more about the individual than the general humanity. So this question says, when does one know when one has matured spiritually or become enlightened? Will it be in the beyond? Or is this something only the most humble will realize and find himself in paradise? So I'll just repeat that. When does one know when one has matured spiritually or become enlightened? Will it be in the beyond? Or is this something only the most humble will realize when they find themselves in paradise?
A personality we know where he or she stands when he realizes he knows nothing. That is the beginning. So one will become wise when he or she realizes within the schemes and the processes in nature, in creation, he or she knows nothing. Then he or she can rise. For then gradually, understanding that it knows nothing, it will, in a step-by-step fashion, strive in humility to build up. If intellectually is trying to find out whether he or she has matured, then that person hasn't started.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. Now, I want to ask you one more question, which is, the aim of the show is to introduce people to the Grail Message and In the Light of Truth by Abdushin. And so what I would like to ask you, Gregory, is what is the purpose of the Grail Message?
The purpose of the work in the light of truth is to shed light on the concepts, on the processes in nature, the processes in creation, such that the human personality will now have clarity and know how to proceed. Make no mistake, the work in the light of truth is the most challenging work for the human personality, for it demands rigorousness, vigorousness, above all, the humility that will enable the human personality to realize that it knows nothing, and gradually we strive in humility to become wise. So the message is a walk that challenges everything the human personality think he knows. And it is a monumental challenge, not for the faint-hearted, but only for those who are bold enough to take on that challenge, starting with the premise that they know nothing.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. This is, I asked that question especially because, as you know, the topic tonight is distorted concepts. And, you know, basically, let's say we all have these distorted concepts, and we may not even be aware, you know, that they are distorted, that our understanding of it is a distortion. So it's like already a challenge just from that, you know, point, because let's say people have accepted what we have been told, and only when, let's say, something goes wrong, then we say, hang on a second, is that really right? Is that making sense? And so, as you said, Gregory, that's one of the things the Grail Message brings. It makes you look at these concepts, you know, and also, we mentioned it many times in the show, there are the laws of nature or creation, which are necessary that we know what they are, you know, in order to understand the concepts, and because everything works within these laws, the natural laws, and the Grail Message brings, it tells us what the laws are and explains them as well. So it's really important that we have that picture. That's, after all, that's the, you know, when you have a distorted picture, then obviously you're going to go astray. So the first point is to be aware that there's a distortion, and number two, you know, what is the correct picture. So all of those things are necessary steps in our life, you know, to discover these things.
May I say that
yes,
it is necessary for many who wish to examine the work, or to, in quotes, read the work in the light of truth, that it does not suffice to take the expressions just as they are, but to examine them intuitively. Only through such examination and striving to read, to understand in nature, in creation, the happenings in accordance with these laws, only then will it bring benefits. Else, it will remain a book with 7 seals. That
Thank you
means
so much.
only when you put it to live practice will there be any benefit. So for many who may be listening and thinking they just accept it, they just believe it, belief is of no consequence. Only conviction is a fruit of one's effort.
Thanks so much, Gregory, for that, your words there. Listeners, we've come to the end of our show tonight, and as usual, I like to read from the Grail Message in the Light of Truth, the foreword, which is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I am addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God, Abdrushin. Dear listeners, if you want to get a copy of the Grail Message or want more information on the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Gregory, anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing them a beautiful week.
Thanks for that. And yes, listeners, thank you for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed the discussion on distorted concepts. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. I wish you all a great week. God bless.